My name is Nora. I'm representing ABB here today, and it's really an honor to represent the company to talk to you a little bit about hydrogen efficiency and cost reduction technology. I don't know how many of you know who ABB is, but for those of you, thanks, Justin. For those of you who don't know what ABB is, we're a global industrial company with Swiss and Swedish blood. About 100,000 employees globally, and this is last year's number. This year, we're a little bit over $30 billion revenue. And our business is really equally distributed globally. About 1/3 in the Americas, 1/3 in the Asia, Middle East, and Africa, and then 1/3 in Europe. And perhaps in the United States, a lot of people don't know about us, but actually we have been present in the United States for over about 100 years. They are more than 20,000 US employees. We have 30 manufacturing sites and 10 plus R&D locations. We have been investing into this community to create jobs, and we have been focusing on the decarbonization. Our company goal is to reach carbon neutral by 2030. We are well on track. Just since 2019, you see here, we already decreased 80% of our greenhouse gas emission. That's internal operations. But we're continuing to work upstream to our supply chain and downstream to help our customers. We help our customers to reduce the greenhouse emission by doing electrification. That's what we do. By investing into renewable energy and increasing energy efficiency. We love electrifications. But there's a reason, we all know why we're sitting here today, because there are many sectors that cannot be electrified. It's a hard-to-abate sector. That's why we need to do hydrogen. And that's where ABB plays. This morning at our ABB booth, we got a question. So ABB, what do you do in hydrogen? Well, we don't produce electrolyzers, not now. We don't do compressors. But what we do is to really establish the electrical backbones to enable this hydrogen economy. For example, for green steel, you need to have the DRI as a base to have the green steel plant. And you need the electric arc furnaces. You need electricity. The blue hydrogen to drive all this, to compress all this carbon dioxide, you need to have a compressor. You need electrical equipment to drive those. And today, I want to talk more about this electrolysis. The electrolyzer taking water and electricity to produce hydrogen. It sounds very simple. And I believe that 20 years ago, when we talk about electrolyzer, people would think of these high school experiments we do. We put the water, we put 2 spoons inside, and then we connect the battery and starts to have gas bubbling up. And I think at the beginning of this hydrogen economy, this is also how we feel. ABB is an electrical company. When electrolyzer players, manufacturers come to us, they want to buy power supply. People are thinking the power supply should be just like laptop charger, right? We have the laptop that's absolutely the hero, and then you just need to give me the plug that I plug it in DC plus minus and everything's just gonna work. It is absolutely true and should be that way, and it's easy when things are very small, 10 kilowatt, 100 kilowatt, 500 kilowatt even. But when we're talking about green hydrogen economy, when things are at scale, the electrical question is no longer like a laptop charger. It becomes a little bit more complicated. And this is what I'm talking about. To power the electrolyzer down here, we know with green hydrogen, we need to connect to the renewable energy. And from the renewable energy down to the electrolyzer, there is a long process because you need to convert a medium voltage AC current to a low voltage DC current. And if you have to emit, I don't know, a couple gigawatt, 2 gigawatt, if you want to connect 2 gigawatt of electrical equipment on the grid, you are really disturbing. It is really an art. Right now at this moment, it doesn't need to be, to figure out how we can set up this whole bunch of equipment such that it makes economical sense. And based on our estimate, you lose a lot of energy throughout the chain. The more equipment you plug in, the more energy you lose. It's just like your kitchen. Imagine you have a kitchen plug, an extension cord. If you put in 5 different appliances and running them at the same time, trust me, the power that going to each of the appliances is not at their rated power because you're just using them. And it's the same thing. Through the chain, the more you scale up, there's really 10% of energy efficiency that's on the table. You can, by optimizing it, and you can reduce that energy consumption. So when I'm talking to people, people love to ask me, so Nora, what is the best technology for this rectifier, this turning thing? Because that is the key component that translates the AC current, that's like a sine wave, to DC like a battery. And people love to ask me about technology. Before I go to the next slide, I want to do a small raise of a hand. Who here has electrical engineering background? Please raise your hand. Good. Not that many, so I wouldn't bore you. So people love to ask me, what technology is better? I want a bipower supply. Should I buy the thyristor one or IGBT one? Now, don't worry if you don't understand what that is. I promise I'll talk about it really simply. Thyristor is a simple thing. It's just like, light bulb. If you flow the current one direction, it turns, but then if you go the other direction, the light bulb is not going to be lit. But then thyristor is a little bit better. You can control it. So you can control when I want to lit it. Now, thyristor is fantastic. It's an old technology, very reliable. It's very efficient, 99.5%. It doesn't really lose any energy. It's very compact, cost-effective. It has been there for decades. But then we all hear about, there's some cons about it. It's not very nice to the grid. For example, harmonics you might hear, and reactive power. So for those of you who are non-engineers, here's a slide for you. What is a reactive power? Now, I'm married a German, so I can say that. A proper amount of foam is good for beer, but not in the grease sense. The reactive power, why we don't like it? Because it is something that we don't need. It cancels the energy and the power. Why do you pay for the whole glass while you only drink half of it? That's why we don't like it. So that's why people talk about there's another fancy technology called IGBT, the things on the right. Because we don't like the reactive power harmonics as bad for the electricity grid, we have this technology called IGBT. It switches really, really fast. It can achieve almost zero reactive power, meaning that you got no foam on your beer. Very low harmonics, very good controllability. You can control it really precisely. But then it's usually very expensive because it's a newer technology, and it's usually bigger. Now imagine if you have a 2 gigawatt plant. If the equipment is really big, you times it 500 times. It's really space consuming. So people don't like it. And then people will say, okay, Nora, so what if I want something that's really cost effective, very efficient, but then it's really nice to the grid? Well, I have to say, if we're looking at a small scale, if you ask me to power a 1 megawatt electrolyzer, it's not possible. It's physics. But because we're scaling up this economy, it is possible by combining the technology. There is nothing wrong with technology. It's physics. Physics exists. But then it's about how we use them. And this is where we come in as ABB, electrical engineering experts, because we scale up. This means that one single Lego block, now we suddenly need 10. And here's an example where we need 8. So you can see, if you remember the symbol from the previous slide, we're mixing the thyristor-based technology with the IGBT-based technology. So we're really reducing the footprint. We're taking advantage of the high efficiency on this side, and at the same time using software, using control, and the characteristic of the fancy technology to compensate for the bad beer foam that this thing is generating. And really by doing the simple kind of a setup of a bigger building block, and make sure this is the building block. It's not customization. I'm not talking about customization here. We're still using the same standard building block. It's still the same Lego. It's just different color. And then we use the Lego to build them together to build a bigger module. And then we use a bigger module and start stacking them to become an even bigger plant. We did a short simulation study to look at 200 megawatt setup. So this means that this one times 5. Now, this might be a complicated figure for you, but if you just look at the red bar, that's basically the CAPEX cost. So we all know that the thyristor solution, you can see IGBT, we can compare either one, but with the hybrid solution, it's always cheaper on the CAPEX side because with thyristor, because you need to add a lot of equipment to reduce those foam. And also in terms of efficiency, which drives the overall lifetime electrical cost, the higher the efficiency, the less the electrical bill that you need to pay. Is really the solution. Now I have one slide here, another study that we did. There's a lot of number here, but then if you look at a 100 megawatt project, and this is what we do, we take a real project requirement, 100 megawatt, and then we start to dimension, okay, if we put the thyristor solution, this is how it looks like. If we put IGBT solution, this is how it looks like, and the hybrids look like. And then you see that one thing you need to notice here is the composition. We need to compare apple to apple. And apple to apple for me means that you need to connect the renewable energy down to electrolyzer. You cannot just look at the component. And you can see that you might want to save on the red part, which is the rectifier part that has a thyristor and IGBT. But then you need to pay a lot of costs on here because you need to compensate for it. Or you can choose to pay a lot for your IGBT solution and you have a lot less component, but then it's a lot more cost in this simulation. So this is what we did. What we want to say is, depending on the project configuration, there might be different lineup. And I don't think there's anyone in the room can say, here you go, this is a product, this is thing for you. I think we would still like to learn together to scale up. And this is something that we do, that now we have a standardized building block, 5 megawatt, 10 megawatt. But then can we create a bigger building block, like 40 megawatt, 100 megawatt, with the considering electrical system optimization, and to really reach the lower total cost of ownership, and then we use that to further scale up. So, and this is what we do. We partner, we're very honored to participate in this partnership as well with Highstar, Yarrow, and Equinor. Really to see how far we can push the energy efficiency boundary. Is there a best combination with the rectifier, the power supply, and the electrolyzer that we can further raise the overall system frequency? And I think we need a lot of more this early partnership and learning to figure out what is the right configuration. So we're here to co-create with you, to partner with you. The electrification is a backbone for the hydrogen economy. And really looking forward to work with you. And please remember to stop by our booth when you have time. It's right there out of the door. With that, any questions? Yes, please.
How tunable are you able to get that hybrid? How tunable are you able to make that hybrid configuration when you're trying to consider trade-offs? Actually, this next slide would be good. Between THD, for example, and efficiency. Is there flexibility there?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It takes some art, and at the end of the day, I think you're probably an engineer. At the end of the day, it's really the project requirement. For example, if you say, I'm in Denmark, and I need perfect power factor, 1, we can forget about thyristor. I will just tell you, go with IGBT. Here is what you need, because there are certain physical limits. So when we have the project requirement, there is certain range that we can tune, and it's actually rather flexible. And then when we do the simulation 10 times, actually we start to see a pattern, and it can be standardized. Yeah. Thank you. All right. No more questions then. Thank you very much for your time.